Walter's Sports Bar has been recognized by many local publications as one of the best sports bars in Washington, D.C., located across the street from Nationals Park and open year-round.
Craftsman Days are here at Lowe's with big savings on the tools you need. Save $100 on the Craftsman V20 6-tool Power Tool Combo Kit, now at $199. No matter what the project is, Craftsman's high-quality, high-performance products empower you to build on. Stop by your nearest Lowe's store and check out the full line of Craftsman tools today. Valid through 6/18 while supplies last. Selection varies by location.
Wood came through with an RBI single in the sixth, swings and drives one to deep center field. Mullins going back, way back at the wall. It is good. Goodbye. Bang, zoom goes James Wood with a bomb well beyond the 410-foot marker. It's home run number 12 and his second RBI of the game, and he has this park buzzing. It's a tie game again here in the eighth. The Nationals 3 and the Orioles 3. Bautista to the belt. A check of the runner at second. Here's the pitch on the way and a swing and a slow roller right side. Wide of first, Mountcastle has it. He flips to the pitcher, covering. It's too late. Runner breaking for the plate. The throw is high, and Tata scores. And the Nationals have the lead. The speed of Nasim Nuñez, giving the Nationals the lead because he beat the play and Tata kept running around third. By the time the Orioles reacted, it was too late. It's the Nationals 4 and the Orioles 3. Finnegan coming set. Holds the bat high, right shoulder. Here's the pitch. Swing and a fly ball, right center field. Nasim Nuñez to his left is there, and he puts it away and fires his right fist into the air. A Curly W's in the books here in Baltimore.
And welcome to Nats Chat, along with MASNsports.com Nationals insider Mark Zuckerman, who is at Oriole Park at Camden Yards in Baltimore. I'm Al Galdi, host of the Al Galdi podcast. So we are in the midst of a special weekend in Major League Baseball, MLB's first official rivalry weekend, with the MLB, quote, highlighting some top geographical rivalries with every team playing its designated rival with 11 interleague series and 4 non-interleague matchups, end quote. And so we this weekend have a 3-game series for the Nationals at the Orioles, two teams having disappointing seasons so far, but we on Friday night in Game 1 of this series had quite the game, a 4-3 Nats win at the O's in a game in which the Nats overcame a 3-2 eighth-inning deficit. The Nats won despite getting out-hit 14-5. The Nats won despite striking out 13 times. The Nats won despite their starting pitcher, MacKenzie Gore, lasting for just 3 2/3 innings. So the start of the game was delayed by 12 minutes due to rain. There was a lot going on in this game, but the Nats did some good things. The Nats got some encouraging individual performances, and the Nats won. They in MLB's 2025 regular season now are 19-27. The O's now are 15-28. This installment of Nats Chat brought to us by Mason Kalfas, the top legal recruiter in Washington, D.C. Mason has been with us since our first season. You can reach him at 202-486-3535. You could find us on X at Nats_chat. You could find us on Blue Sky at Nats Chat Podcast. You can email the show, natschatpodcast@gmail.com. Mark, how the heck did the Nats win this game on Friday night?
This was a completely ludicrous baseball game, Al, in so many different ways. And it kind of applies to both teams. I mean, you have MacKenzie Gore had a start that literally had never happened in baseball history when you combine the lack of outs he recorded, but the number of strikeouts and the number of hits that he gave up. And then in spite of all that, only gave up 2 runs. You have the Orioles tripling the Nationals' hit output in the game, but going into the final inning tied on the scoreboard in runs. You have guys playing out of position. Nasim Nuñez in the outfield for the first time, not just in the big leagues, but as a professional, and making a nice play out there. And then you have them winning the game because of his legging out a chopper to first base and beating the pitcher to the bag, which ultimately allows the runner to come all the way around to score from second. I mean, an absolutely ludicrous way to win a game, and yet it felt fitting for this one. Oh, and by the way, the bullpen combined for 5 1/3 innings with 1 unearned run to close that out. I mean, out of those 5 different scenarios I just presented you, every single one of them seems more outrageous than the last, and they somehow put that all together to win a game.
The game really was something. It was a lengthy game, 3 hours, 18 minutes. There was so much that went into the game. You could start with a variety of topics. I guess we'll start with this. So the Nats in this game, 4 runs on just 5 hits, but the 5 hits, including 2 home runs to go with 3 singles, and the Nats drew 5 walks. The Nats went 2 for 6 with runners in scoring position. Oh, by the way, James Wood in this game had 2 big hits. I feel like that gets lost with everything else that happened, but Wood, as the Nats starting DH and number 3 batter, 2 for 4 with a solo homer and an RBI single. Wood in a Nats 1-run 6 had a 2-out RBI single into center field to tie the game at 2. As O's manager Brandon Hyde elected to have starting pitcher Cade Povich pitch to Wood, as opposed to having Povich issue an intentional walk of Wood with the runner on third to get to Keibert Ruiz, and Wood in a Nats 1-run 8th, a 2-out solo homer to center field to tie the game at 3. The homer going a projected 421 feet per StatCast. So more heroics from Wood, but how about that decision from Brandon Hyde? He already is on a rather warm seat in Baltimore with the disappointing season the O's are having. I did not get that decision at all to have Povich pitch to Wood.
I'll say it. That was managerial malpractice. In that situation, to face James Wood, clearly their best hitter, no matter if he's facing lefties or righties. By the way, James Wood now has a 909 OPS against lefties for the season, 905 against righties. He's actually better against lefties. The combination of that and who's behind him, Keibert Ruiz, who'd be batting from the right side of the plate, his less productive side of the plate. I could not believe that. A lot of people in the press box could not believe that decision, and it absolutely backfired on Brandon Hyde. Good for Wood for coming through in that spot. Not that I was surprised by it. Good for him for then hitting a towering home run a couple innings later off another lefty in Keegan Aiken to tie the game again in the 8th inning. It got lost in the shuffle because all the other craziness, but this was another outstanding game for James Wood, who I think we're reaching a point here where you just come to expect this from him, no matter who he's facing, what the situation is. You know he's going to hit the ball hard. It's just a matter of can he elevate it enough and hit it out of the park.
Well, you think about each team's great young player on Friday night. James Wood did what he did. The Orioles' Gunnar Henderson as the starting designated hitter and number 1 batter for the O's, 0 for 5 with 4 strikeouts. Think about that juxtaposition, what Wood did in this game versus what Henderson did in this game. The Nats' other homer in this game came from Nathaniel Lowe. He is the Nats' starting first baseman and number 5 batter, went 1 for 4 with a solo homer. Lowe in a Nats 1-run second had a 1-out solo homer to right center field on a 1-2 pitch for a 1-0 Nats lead. Good to see that. Nathaniel Lowe has been slumping here in recent weeks. And yes, Nasim Nuñez. You know, you could call this game the Nasim Nuñez game in a lot of ways. He served as the Nats starting second baseman, even though the Nats on Friday afternoon did announce having returned second baseman Luis Garcia Jr. from the paternity list. Also announced having optioned infielder/outfielder Trey Lipscomb back to AAA Rochester. Nuñez in this game as the Nats starting second baseman and number 9 batter. 1 for 3 with that RBI infield single that Mark referenced earlier. Also drew a walk. Also had a stolen base. Also made 2 standout plays in the field, one of which happened with him playing center field. The 2 standout plays, Nuñez in the bottom of the first while playing second base, a diving backhanded catch of a leadoff first pitch liner off the bat of Gunnar Henderson. Nuñez in the bottom of the 8th while playing center field, a really nice running catch of a liner by Adley Rutschman for the second out. And then the RBI infield single. That came in a 1-run Nats 9th, a 2-out Ribby infield single to the right side of the infield for a 4-3 Nats lead as Nuñez beat the lumbering Orioles closer Felix Bautista. You know, his nickname is the Mountain. There's a reason for that. He's a big man, and he kind of moves like a mountain, to be honest with you. Nuñez can run. He motored down that first base line, beat Bautista to the first base bag, and then Bautista committed a throwing error and throwing home as Jose Tena scored from second base. But man, what a terrific all-around performance by Nasim Nuñez.
For a guy who plays less than anybody else on the team and starts this game as their number 9 hitter, for him to be as involved as he was in so many ways and in critical moments, is really remarkable. We've even left out a couple of things here. He hit the longest ball of his major league career, 390 feet to center field in his first at bat, and it took a remarkable catch by Cedric Mullins slamming into the wall to deny him probably at least a double, maybe even a triple in that one. In the sixth inning, when setting up the whole scenario where James Wood gets the big hit when they decided to pitch to him, he draws a leadoff walk. He steals second and makes it to third on the same pitch because the pitch got away from Adley Rutschman for a passed ball. So that put him in position to score on the James Wood single. He comes up to bat in a big spot in the seventh and strikes out, then gets another chance to bat in the ninth with 2 outs. And it may not have been good contact, but he's a guy that if you just put the bat on the ball and bust it down the line, you never know what might happen. And he absolutely made it happen there. He's playing center field. So here's the deal. Never played the outfield in the minors. He did get a few reps this spring as they kind of said, look, if you're going to make it in this league as a utility guy, we may need to use you out there at some point. And he works on it, during BP and takes some balls out there, but he has never actually played it in a real game. He used his infielder's glove, didn't even go to an outfielder's glove. So it's a little tiny glove, and he's making a lunging catch where, a matter of inches could be the difference between a game-saving catch and a critical hit. And how did they get into that scenario? Okay, because you have James Wood DHing, you only have 3 true outfielders now, the 3 who are out there. And when they decided to pinch hit for Jacob Young with Luis Garcia, a move that backfired because Garcia struck out, you now have to come up with somebody else to play the outfield. You're either going to lose the DH by putting James Wood out there, and now you have a pitcher batting or pinch hitters, but you've already used at least one guy on the bench for that. Or you're putting somebody out there who doesn't normally play the outfield. The only other option would be Amed Rosario, who does have actual outfield experience in the big leagues, but he really wasn't available tonight. Why? Because last night at the team hotel in Baltimore, he bangs his knee into the table in his hotel room and suffers a cut that was bad enough that it required stitches. And so the idea was he might be able to pinch hit, but they didn't want him to have to run around either the bases or the outfield and risk having to dive or slide and opening up that wound. So he really wasn't an option to play the outfield. And all that combined is how Nasim Nuñez ends up in center field, making a running catch, and, oh, by the way, also catching the final out of the game. I mean, what a bizarre and remarkable night for a guy who rarely gets talked about and rarely plays and found himself at the center of so many different things in this game.
It really was something. By the way, we may need an investigation into what Amed Rosario was doing in his hotel room to where he suffered that kind of a cut of banging his leg on a table. That does not seem like something that happens on an everyday basis here. But, with Nuñez, one of the things that I love about him, and we have talked about this, so he's a very sort of happy-go-lucky guy. He certainly has a charisma about him, and the joy with which he plays the game is infectious. He makes that running catch in the right center field gap of the Adley Rutschman liner while playing center field, and he has this mile-wide smile on his face, Nuñez does, and I love that so much. It's such a cool thing to see. You can tell he's really enjoying his time at the major league level. But you brought this up, and I think it's a key point here. Garcia and Nuñez striking out in back-to-back fashion in the latter portion of the game. That was a key spot, and I actually thought in that moment that might be it for the Nats in terms of them realistically winning this game. The Orioles brought in reliever Brian Baker. He faced 2 batters. He got 2 big outs, comes into the game top of the 7th. The Nats have runners on second and third, 1 out. The O's are leading 3-2, and Baker generated back-to-back swinging strikeouts of Garcia and Nuñez. And that was one of those spots, I feel like, where you say to yourself, okay, maybe it's just not the Nats' night here, but they instead end up finding a way to win. Hey, are you a law firm partner or associate looking to transition to a new firm because of compensation, or your firm recently committed to $100 million in pro bono work that you disagree with? Or maybe your firm is employing people like Jurickson Profar while your competitor firms are using torpedo bats and smoking the competition. If this sounds like you should explore the lateral market and give Mason Kalfas a call. Mason is the top legal recruiter in the Washington, D.C. area. He has been a Nats Chat podcast podcast advertiser since the beginning of our show. Mason will work with you to create a marketing and business plan to pitch to new firms and dramatically increase your compensation and or day-to-day happiness in your new job. Mason has placed partners and associates in just about every large law firm in D.C. and New York, and he can provide plenty of testimonials from candidates he has placed on the outstanding service that they received. You need a strong advocate in your corner to find the best law firm out there for your future career. Call Mason Kalfas today, 202-486-3535.
Life as a small business owner, everything is your problem and there aren't enough hours in the day. That's where LinkedIn Jobs and by proxy Nats Chat are here to help. For those crucial hires that you absolutely can't whiff on, turn to LinkedIn Jobs. Simply post your job and LinkedIn will take it from there, making sure it gets in front of the properly qualified candidates who are searching themselves. Find out why more than 2.5 million small business owners have turned to LinkedIn Jobs to grow their staff. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/natschat. That's linkedin.com/natschat to post your jobs for free. linkedin.com/natschat. Terms and conditions apply.
Here's Henry the set. The runners go. The pitch. Strike three called on the outside corner. Arias doesn't think so. And maybe the Nationals get a break there. That pitch looked to be a hair off the edge. And the inning is over. So Henry strands the bases loaded with a strikeout. And for the third time in 4 innings, the Orioles leave the bases loaded.
So MacKenzie Gore in this game. Man, one of the most bizarre outings a National starting pitcher has ever had. 2 runs in 3 2/3 innings on 10 hits and 2 walks, while also recording 9 strikeouts. Let me repeat that. 2 runs, 3 2/3 innings, 10 hits, 2 walks, but also 9 strikeouts. The 10 hits were 3 doubles and 7 singles. He, over his mere 3 2/3 innings, threw a whopping 102 pitches. Did throw a lot of strikes, 70 strikes versus just 32 balls. But, we've talked about the pitch inefficiency of MacKenzie Gore. What was on display on Friday night was pitch inefficiency taken to a whole new level. And the thing about this outing from Gore, it could have been even worse because he benefited from 2 terrific defensive plays. We mentioned the great play that Nasim Nuñez made while at second base, that diving backhanded catch of a leadoff first pitch liner off the bat of Gunnar Henderson in the bottom of the first. And center fielder Jacob Young made a leaping catch at the outfield wall of a deep flyout by Ryan Mountcastle for the second out in the bottom of the fourth. So with Gore, very fortunate to only give up the 2 runs. You do give him credit for the 9 strikeouts, and they were key, no doubt. But man, what a bizarro outing. 102 pitches in 3 2/3 innings.
This might be the strangest Major League start I've ever seen. And historically, it was one of a kind. He is the first pitcher in Major League history to give up 10 hits while striking out 9 in fewer than 4 innings. And if you stop and think about that, why that's so bizarre, if your stuff is so good that you're getting 9 strikeouts, and these are on swings and misses for the most part. I think he had 22 swings and misses overall. It's a big number. You're not expecting to also give up the kind of loud contact that he's giving up. These were not cheap hits. These were well-struck hits along the way. This is crazy to me, okay? 12 Oriole batters put the ball in play against him. 10 of them get hits. They're 10 for 12 when putting the ball in play. And the 2 outs, as you just alluded to, are both great defensive plays. So there was not a single routine grounder, pop-up, fly ball with MacKenzie Gore in the game. And you would think, well, that had to be a nightmare of a start for him. And yet it wasn't, because he was, when he needed to, able to come up with these swings and misses. I mean, he gets in the first inning, bases loaded, back-to-back strikeouts to strand him. In the second inning, runner on second, 3 straight strikeouts to strand him. Third inning, bases loaded again, 2 more strikeouts to strand those runners. It was a remarkable thing to see him do, and it left him dumbfounded at the end of the night because he felt like he pitched well. He knew the stuff was good. He was throwing strikes. He was ahead of hitters. And yet he was, whatever contact he was giving up was really loud contact. So he was going to go back and look at it and try to figure out if there's anything that he could come out of this.
But we got to figure out, see what exactly happened, because we don't need that to happen again.
You may just have to shake this off and just say, this is one of the weirder starts you're ever going to see from somebody, and just be grateful that the only thing that mattered in the end out of all that is that he only gave up 2 runs somehow, despite everything else that was going on.
It really is incredible. And you look at MacKenzie Gore, the season that he's having, and it overall is a really good season, but man, it is odd in some ways. So Gore for this regular season now, 10 starts, ERA of 3.67, whip of 130. He is number 1 in the majors by quite a bit in strikeouts, 84. He is number 1 in the majors by quite a bit in strikeouts per 9 innings, 13.42. Number 2 is Chris Sale of the Atlanta Braves, 11.85. So that's a pretty big disparity. But Gore also is next to last among all qualified pitchers in the majors in terms of fewest pitches per inning, 17.66. So he again is having this issue of throwing way too many pitches per inning that, of course, got inflated with what happened on Friday night. Part of the many pitches per inning, of course, is him having all of these strikeouts, but it just is such an odd profile. He is so pitch inefficient, and yet he is so good. And the upside is immense, and we're seeing him deliver on that upside with what he's doing from a strikeout perspective here. He's on pace to have one of the great strikeout seasons that any Nat starting pitcher has had.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be right up there with Scherzer and Strasburg, I think, in the end. As long as he stays healthy, makes all his starts, he's going to be right there with them. And I mean, again, here's the thing. It's 102 pitches, yeah, but it's 70 strikes. How often are we talking about anybody on this team throwing 70 strikes in a start? That's really good. Now, yeah, there's some foul balls at extended bats. And the last at bat of the game that he faced, it was a battle, 10 pitches against O'Hearn. He finally walked him, and David decided to pull the plug there and bring in Cole Henry, who, by the way, did a great job to strike out Ramon Urias to leave the bases loaded again. That was 3 times the first 4 innings that the Orioles left the bases loaded, by the way. There is so much to like about MacKenzie Gore. And it feels like in so many ways this is a breakthrough season for him. And yet, you know, there's more. Like if he can just refine this a little bit and get some quicker outs and allow himself to go deeper in games, this could really, really be something for him. And maybe he will get there. But once again, I think you just have to compliment him on minimizing the damage. That on a night when he easily could have given up 4, 5, 6 runs, he gets out of that only giving up 2 in spite of all the base runners. And how did he do it? Not with any help from his defense. It was by getting the outs himself with swings and misses to get 9 strikeouts in 3 2/3 innings.
It's the difference between a Gore and a Trevor Williams, who doesn't strike guys out, puts guys on base, and subjects himself to that variance of the batted ball and ends up giving up a bunch of runs. In Gore's case, because he has this weapon of the strikeout, he can put a boatload of guys on base and yet somehow only allow 2 runs in 3 2/3 innings, even when giving up 10 hits and issuing 2 walks. The Nats bullpen in this 4-3 win at the Orioles on Friday night was good, really good. 6 Nats relievers combined to allow 1 run unearned in 5 1/3 innings. Some big outs were gotten by the bullpen in this game. Mark mentioned what Cole Henry did. Henry faced 1 batter, got 1 out, but that was a big out. Comes into the game, bottom of the 4th, bases loaded, 2 outs. Nats down 2-1, and Henry generated a called strikeout of Ramon Urias for the 3rd out. Andrew Chafin tossed a scoreless bottom of the 5th, during which he picked off Cedric Mullins, who then was caught stealing second base. Jackson Rutledge allowed 1 run unearned in 1 inning. He in the bottom of the 6th allowed an unearned run off a fielding error by third baseman Jose Tena. You know, we were singing the praises of Tena defensively. He's made a few errors here in the recent days. Jose A. Ferrer. You know, we talk about good Ferrer, bad Ferrer. We had great Ferrer on Friday night. A perfect bottom of the 7th with 2 strikeouts. Jorge Lopez tossed a scoreless bottom of the 8th, despite giving up back-to-back 2-out singles. And Kyle Finnegan, a scoreless bottom of the 9th for the save, despite giving up a leadoff single, because that's what he does. He puts at least 1 guy on base every outing. But key in that inning, a strike him out, throw him out double play for the first 2 outs. You know, you look back at this game, some big defensive moments for the Nats in this game. And the Nats in this game did a really good job controlling the Orioles' running game in this game.
Yes, that's Keibert Ruiz throwing out a couple of base stealers in this game, and that was a huge one for him in that spot. And look, we know that one of Finnegan's big bugaboos is once he gets a guy on base, he is slow to the plate, and he very frequently can turn, say, a leadoff walk or a single into a runner in scoring position by letting them steal second. You know that's what the Orioles are thinking. That's what Jackson Holliday is thinking. So good on Keibert Ruiz for the throw and good on C.J. Abrams for the tag to get him. It was close. The Orioles challenged it because you have to at that point late in the game. It was the right call. It was close. That is a huge out and further evidence of both Ruiz and Riley Adams have done a great job, much improved in that regard to throw out base runners. And I'd be remiss if I didn't point this out to you, Al, because I knew, you weren't going to be looking for this yourself. Jorge Lopez, now tied for the league lead with 6 wins, despite a 7.20 ERA. And, oh, by the way, the fact he's a relief pitcher. This is turning into one of the strangest things you'll ever see out of a pitcher who, for the most part, has been highly ineffective. And yet he is responsible now for 6 of the Nats' 19 wins this season. How crazy is that?
It's nuts, and it is such an indictment of the pitcher win stat that I feel like this might be the ultimate death blow to pitcher wins. If Jorge Lopez ends up with like 12 or 13 wins, but a sky-high ERA, maybe that finally will bring an end to the pitcher win. But, it's appropriate that the Nats are facing the Orioles. The O's years ago had a manager named Phil Reagan. Phil Reagan used to be a pitcher. His nickname was the Vulture, because he did, as Lopez is doing this season, he would, in vulture-like fashion, get wins in games in which he didn't necessarily pitch all that well or do a whole lot for the win, but he would somehow wind up with the official win. And Jorge Lopez, there is a vulture-like nature to what he's doing here so far.
It's entirely because of what the Nats offense does the inning after he pitches. That's all of this is. It's not to do with how Lopez is doing. It's the fact that he pitches in a lot of close games, I guess. And it's secondly, the fact that the Nats lineup in either the 8th or the 9th usually is coming through with the winning run. So if he does get to 10, 12, 20 wins perhaps out of the bullpen, Jorge Lopez absolutely has to take everybody in the Nats lineup out to dinner or get him a Rolex watch or something to thank them, because he will have achieved that most unusual stat line because of their work, not necessarily his own.
This game was bonkers. I was spending some time after the game just looking at the box score and kind of taking some stuff in. I mean, the O's in this game had 14 hits, 4 walks, and 4 for 15 with runners in scoring position, and yet only scored 3 runs. That is so hard to do. The Nats did generate 15 strikeouts of the Orioles, so that ends up proving key. But man, somehow the Nats escape Camden Yards on Friday night with one of the most improbable wins that you'll ever see. Really good job by the Nats to come from behind and win this game, find a way to get the job done. Game 2 of this series, Saturday afternoon at 4:05. Jake Irvin will be the Nats starting pitcher. You tell us what you think. Hit us up on X at Nats_chat. You can find us on Blue Sky at Nats Chat Podcast. You can email the show, natchatpodcast@gmail.com, including if you would like to sponsor the program. We'd love to have you on board. Hit up Tim Shovers. Again, that email address is natschatpodcast@gmail.com. This installment of Nats Chat brought to us by Mason Kalfas, the top legal recruiter in Washington, D.C. Mason has been with us since our first season. You can reach him at 202-486-3535. All Nationals radio highlights on Nats Chat are courtesy of 106.7 The Fan. For Mark Zuckerman, I'm Al Galdi. We thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you next time on the Nats Chat Podcast.
Lopez ready, 3-1 pitch, swung on, hit in the air, shallow right center field. Coming on is Nuñez to make a running catch. There's his first chance as an outfielder, as a professional. And he made a running catch, shaded to right center, but he had to come in and to his left. And speed always comes to play.
He did it with a smile on his face. That was not a routine play for someone who's never done it.